Hello and welcome to this episode of Jexo with Friends podcast. In this series, we get to meet great people from across the Atlassian ecosystem and have a casual chat about partnerships, teams, services, and more. Today I'm joined by Jan, the co-founder of Generativ, a young Atlassian Solution Partner team based in Zurich, Switzerland, and I'm also proud to say our newest Jexo partner. It's great to chat with you, Jan. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Right, so we'll get straight into it. Since we recently met, we've not yet discovered absolutely everything there is to know about each other. So let's hear a bit about yourself. What were you doing before starting the Generativ company?
Yeah, back in the days, I studied Aerospace Engineering. So that's almost, I would say, 20 years ago. That I started in Stuttgart, a university degree, and afterwards I joined Alstom in Switzerland, in Baden, building, developing, and servicing industrial gas turbines.
Wow.
So here I collected the first, let's say, professional steps and experiences, and then followed this after 8 years. I switched roles and joined a small helicopter startup. And there I got to discover Jira in the framework of project or program management. And let's say in this context, we used Jira to set up a completely new, let's say, way of working in that area, comparing it also to my experience I collected earlier at my first, let's say, company I worked for. And we discovered that Jira can do, let's say, much more in that area when we look how is it used in software teams, and then comparing it to, let's say, hardware developing departments and areas of business. And this is basically the bridge we're now building to support, let's say, product and service developing and creating companies in using Jira and the Atlassian Tools stack effectively, and setting them up, let's say, or establish a framework and a platform where information can flow freely and really support collaboration. And it's quite funny. So in Switzerland, back in the days, at my job developing gas turbines, we had a building with 5 stories, and on each floor there were around 60 engineers or people who work towards, let's say, servicing the gas turbine and developing the gas turbine. And whenever you had a topic which went across floors, it got really difficult to resolve it. So whenever people were on one floor and would see themselves in the maybe in the coffee kitchen or just across the floor, across the desk, they would resolve the topics. They would really collaborate. They would communicate, and information was flowing freely. And then comparing to topics which went across floors, it already became a little bit more difficult, and people would not do this step. Taking this idea and translating it into our time now, where we have the implications from Corona, for example, and everybody is dispersed and sitting in a home office or just on an office around the globe. And still working towards a common goal and common product or service, the information needs to flow. And we are so highly specialized, each of us with their expertise, and everybody needs to or wants to contribute to something bigger. And so we took this idea and said, there can be done more, and we want to bring this together and ensure that information is flowing freely. And people can really share their experiences, share their know-how, and each of us is kind of there's so much more, yeah, you can deliver and can give, and this is basically the power of, we think, the whole Atlassian Tools stack, that you have a kind of a neural network of information which you can establish across a team to have the smallest piece, and then we grow bigger and say it's maybe a department, maybe we have an organization, and then you have projects which tie in like in the matrix. So that is basically where the idea was coming from, and why we said at some point, together with my two co-founders, Mike and Björn, who also worked for this helicopter startup, where we said, hey,
Right.
this can be bigger, and it's not only interesting for this industry to get this helicopter into the air, but it can also be very interesting for companies like the one I worked before, which is, let's say, a much older company where processes are treated a little bit different, working styles are different, and we thought, hey, this way of working can be of value for many other companies who might transition, change in their whole behavior, and that was really then bringing together the individual change of each person combined to an organizational change where the products and services of tomorrow are delivered.
Yeah, that's a very inspiring story. Going back to the floors situation, the company with the floors, it's so funny to think about a couple of team members thinking, "Holy crap, this issue needs to be solved together with floor 2. This is not going to be done in the next 2 years. Can we not just fix it? Can we not just solve it in this floor and just keep it on this floor?" But also, I appreciate that, and I think you have a really beautiful story in that sense with Generativ. It sounds like it from what I get. You are working with the Atlasian Tools in this company. You got swayed by the tool set and the way of working, and basically decided that you want to preach the Atlassian ways to other companies in Switzerland. Did I get it right?
Well, at the end, yes. I mean, we love the tool, to be honest, because and that was a must, right, to start this endeavor, to this adventure, this journey with Generativ, to bring this methodology, this way of working together with the Atlassian tool stack, let's say, to the market, to the customers, into other companies, and I think that it's really the challenge to bring this, take this out of to the world, let's say, present the idea, and then I think there are customers or companies, individuals, of course, also, who find that inspiring, and maybe for others it's maybe not the right way to go, and we try to find the right customers who basically have an intrinsic motivation also to walk this path, because otherwise it needs also an internal transformation and a different way of thinking to adopt these methods and live them on a daily basis. Like you said it earlier, yeah, you need this conscientiousness and this awareness that you have this problem with the floors, right? That you have the problem that information is not flowing freely, and that you have such complex problems to solve where you need every individual with their competence to bring the know-how together to resolve it. And I think the products and services of tomorrow are not straightforward. I mean, you can see that everywhere, and we have the global problems we're facing, like Corona, like climate change, and in this case technological solutions to face them, to take this challenge and try to resolve them. And experts from all disciplines need to come together using different language also. So you have the kind of a business language barrier in addition, which needs to be resolved. So I think the tool is the slightest problem at the end to get this done, but we can do a small piece to resolve it and deliver that at least we have a common platform, that information is flowing. I think the even bigger challenge is to get a common understanding of the problem we're having and what a solution can look like. So at the end, it's really this common language we need to establish and to understand each other, right? And especially in these dynamic times where nobody has time to really understand what's the meaning of a certain word, sentence. It's a matter of communication, and I think the Atlassian tools that can, let's say, enable at least the conversation and bringing everybody to the same table, even though they are distributed in different offices, floors, globally, right, and different time zones. So I think that is a big advantage.
And that's interesting what you said, do you feel that, just looking at the customers that you've been dealing with and so on, do you feel that there's awareness, or do you have to instill awareness as well in some of these organizations where you go in and produce change with tooling, with practices and so on? Do you feel like usually there's 1-2 people that are on your side in that sense, and the majority of the teams are resistant to change and they don't even have that awareness? Or is it more, we know there's something wrong, but we need help with the solutioning part?
Yeah, it's a very good question, because this is also the challenge, I think, to talk to the right people, to highlight, let's say, in this case, a possible small piece for a solution for a change, in way of working or methodology with the tool. And I think the bandwidth is also it's very wide. So you have people who get the point, who have the same understanding, and share this. And I think this is key to find people within the organizations who share this idea, and then you have a common mission, and you can basically together fulfill it, because and that's also something which is I think that is a key learning for us, that it's not a standard which we can establish across all industries, teams, organizations. So there's always a little bit of customization required to adapt to the local infrastructure, to the mentality of the people, to the way of working they are used to, and maybe also figure out where they want to go, where they see the most benefit in basically creating their solutions, products, services, whatever they do, that they have a tool which suits. Even though you always come into you have to find the right balance, right? So a certain standard is good. Also to keep costs low, that's clear. Otherwise you have a really tailored solution which nobody can afford. So it's a balance act. And this is also something where we try to find a certain standard and try to, let's say, do the least amount of customization required for the customers, that they have a tool they can use to their benefit. So this is important, and it's good to see. And also, I think in the beginning when we started, we were a little bit naive also in saying, hey, everyone can use this, right? And it's maybe a solution which suits every team and every organization, which is probably not the case. So maybe for some organizations, another tool is more suitable. Or maybe even on an individual basis, maybe they're better with another Atlassian partner. Let's say one of our let's say other companies, in the same ecosystem, who offer similar services. I think maybe there's a better fit. But I think wherever we have a match in let's say personally, but also from an offering point of view in what and how we do it, I think it's key to find the right people, that you have also a long-term collaboration where we focus on. So at the end, we try to join the journey, and in a sense also learn more about their business which they're in, and really accompany them to fulfill their goals with our services and consulting and integrations.
Yeah, I kind of resonate with that as well. We were quite naive as well when we started. We put together a tool and we thought that will basically solve everyone's problems and needs, until you start talking to actual customers and you realize that their needs are a lot more complex than you initially thought. And so I completely relate with that. I think we're talking about the servicing customers and such. I think we're a perfect match for each other, given type of tools we produce and the services that you basically offer, and that's basically the number one reason we teamed up. But for everyone that's tuning into this podcast, can you talk a bit about how exactly you help customers in the Atlassian ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, at the end, we are in industries where we have usually, let's say, products or services in development, where you have let's say a certain amount of let's say competencies in different areas where people work together to solve problems from a certain size, let's say. It's hard to give a number on amount of people who collaborate, but it's simply in, let's say, in more complex products, like, yeah, and maybe also a little bit more regulated industries like healthcare, medtech, like aerospace, like machinery, wherever you have, let's say norms to fulfill, and that's almost everywhere the case. And meanwhile, right, and at the end, what we do there is really digitize workflows and processes. So process digitalization, and really what you have usually and can monitor is when you go into the company and do kind of an audit, or just accompany them doing their jobs in the different departments. This is what we usually do. We kind of shadow the people who do the work in the first step, and then we see, okay, what is written down in let's say in the quality documentation as a process internally. And then there's always the discovery on what they actually do. And sometimes there's a big difference between what is written down and what is done.
More often than not.
Exactly. And this is what we analyze, what we look into. And then together with the teams, we see what is how it could be done to ensure the most benefit. And this is what we analyze, what we work out with together with them. And then we try to turn this, call it hidden factory, of course, with changes that we fulfill the requirements and needs to achieve the quality and targets. And then we turn it into, in this case, usually processes digitized in Jira in this case, in the first place, and develop really digital workflows which are livable, so to speak. So every employee gets their cockpit, yeah, and knows what to do in which area, and this can be project management, for example, to have the straightforward example to complete tasks. But then also we for example, we implement change requests, for example, within Jira. So when you have product changes, for example, changes to projects, yeah, to really track them down and really ensure that it's properly evaluated. And then we have, for example, thinking back of the aerospace area, where we to ensure that an airplane can basically take off, you need to ensure that requirements are met in terms of certification. So we follow up requirements for products, for example, to really take them into the Jira platform as well, because to fulfill a requirement, you need to derive an action, and also maybe a test specification, a conduction of the test, which involves effort and manpower, planning, and usually you have different databases for all these activities, which are not interconnected. And this is the beauty of Jira. We can combine everything and draw interdependencies and links, and see, hey, what is following each step. And we get the bigger picture and see, okay, when we want to achieve that goal long term, maybe in 2 years from now, okay, these are the steps which need to be done. And then we can also get an overview on, hey, these steps need to be completed. We need these and these resources. And how does it actually look like with resource availability? Because this resource is not only participating in project A, but also in project B at the same time. So, and this is things which become visible when we do this. And this is quite powerful, and especially because it's not only project management, but it's also tying into the business processes like change management, requirements management, for example. And then, of course, what you always have when you offer a product, you also have a service organization. When you have your products then at the customer, you will have, of course, service to deliver, which again spins off activities which has to be resolved to ensure product quality and to serve the customer in let's say resolving issues, for example. And I think the software industry did hell of a job at the end to revolutionize this area, and this is now becoming more and more of its standard, right, in other areas like hardware producing industry where you have hardware products, but still you want to ensure that you have the right customer service and people who have the know-how can help resolve these issues in a very short time, because this is the expectation of the market, that you deliver as a resolution to a problem in a fast and to a certain quality level. And this is basically what we do with the customers. So usually we do a proof of concept with an idea, and then they get to know us by doing that. They get to know the solution already. We can also understand in that phase also the requirements of the customer, we will see how they work, and then this is already the first alignment we see: is that a match or not, and can we both let's say benefit of this collaboration, and can we really support the customer here? So also we challenge ourselves: is it really the right customer for us, also long term, yeah? And that this is a collaboration which works, and can we really, let's say, deliver the value we promise, because this is quite important, of course. And then we start from there and then roll out the solution in a bigger form, usually.
That seems quite a natural process in the servicing space. I also really liked what you just said, digitizing processes. I like the sound of it, and as you said it, it's usually not just mapping whatever they're doing in the in their legacy systems into Atlassian and adopting the exact same practices. It's also altering, because there's quite a bit of mess in these companies. So that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for explaining me that. You're also relatively new with Generativ in the ecosystem, yet you managed to reach gold partner status relatively fast. Tell me about your clients. I think I know, thinking about aerospace and government and things like that. I'm expecting you guys to reach platinum not too far in the future, looking at the kind of target customers you have. But do you want to talk a bit about that, the type of customers you're targeting, specific industries?
Yeah, I mean, probably because of our heritage, our backgrounds, our network also, and our knowledge, let's say, in this area, because we were all working as engineers or consultants in the space, let's say hardware producing industry, more or less in highly regulated industries like aerospace, machinery, and that's also where we basically have the strongest footprint in terms of customer base. So as I said, medtech, aerospace, machinery, let's say hardware producing industries, but also we have customers in healthcare, for example, in Germany, where so I mean, at the end, if you break it down, methods, you can translate them to other industries rather quickly, but still I think in-depth know-how helps to understand. We spoke earlier about the language, right?
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting also when we talk about Jira. So we have a change request or a wish on the dev team of Atlassian, that the epic, for example, can be renamed, or that there can be additional objects which can carry another name, because epic in the software world it's known. People know what it is, how is it used probably, and in other industries, epic is like, it's not tangible.
Yeah.
People don't know what it means. They talk more about a work package, for example. And this is it's a very simple example, but it leads to a lot of confusion, and it seems that people are staying distant because they have, fear is maybe too strong, but they need to get used to it, to this terminology, to this language. And sometimes it would be easier to just call it work package, for example. And just in Jira, Epic has the standalone features which you cannot replicate in different forms as of today. So maybe that comes in the future. Thanks, Atlassian dev team. Let's see what comes. The roadmap is huge, and that's also good to see that the roadmap is quite extensive these days. And I think when we look back 2 years in terms of data residency, data protection, a lot has been done, and it's on the roadmap. So I think that's a good path Atlassian takes here, that also the data protection requirements, which are very common here especially in Europe, are heard and come together. And I think that's a huge step that the acceptance of the cloud solution, accelerates even further. So
yeah, and
that's quite important. I
that's
think
one.
for us, for our customers, because there's always a discussion about the data residency and protection, and a lot of concerns which we need to deal with. So I think that will help. Mhm.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we've discussed earlier. Actually, that's how we met, isn't it? You asked me if we support data residency for one of the tools. So no, that's really brilliant. I was thinking about naming, because I remember something. So we've been doing these Monday coffee with Jexo and announcing a lot of features, and I feel like I remember vaguely something around being able to change the items' names, either being announced as something that's coming or not. But I'll look into that, and I'll remember,
Yeah,
because
super. That
you
would
know
be
I
cool. Yeah.
I remember thinking, saying, it's great the fact that you'll be able to use your own taxonomy for whatever industry and type of project and type of company that you have. So I'll look into that, and I'll let you know if that's something that they announced recently or not.
Yeah, that would be really nice. Yeah, that would be really nice.
Okay, so moving on to the question that I ask all of our partners: why collaborate with Jexo?
Maybe just, yeah, how do we met at the end? It's not been it's just recently at the end, due to one of our customers who looked into a methodology to rank, let's say, propositions, for development, in a kind of a ranking of the backlog. And they use this t-shirt size ranking in terms of business value and implementation effort. So 2-dimensional matrix at the end they want to have. And right now they have different or independent solutions. So they have the ranking they do in Jira, and then manually they try to replicate it on a board in a different system, which is of course not nice and wasted time and effort. So we were looking for other solutions, and since they're running on server still, we could find something, but it was not offered in cloud. And since the cloud move is at the doorstep, and they think long term, we wanted to find a solution which is suitable to do that in the future as well. And that's why, or how we came across Foxley, which is doing exactly that, and we were trying it, let's say, in our instance, and we're quite convinced that this is perfectly suitable. And I think since also we as a young Atlassian partner internally started off with cloud, and our approach is also cloud first, and most of our customers are also in cloud, I think that's a perfect match, because I think you guys are also cloud only right now with your apps.
Yeah,
And I think that's and then you when we spoke first time, you also mentioned that your focus is on business processes with your apps, and this is often the missing puzzle piece, that we have suitable business apps which do a little bit more than the standard Atlassian Jira or Confluence tool stack offers.
yeah.
And I think this is exactly the gap which is bridged here. So I think in that case, with an example given with the Foxley app, that was the missing puzzle piece, to have it in one solution, dynamically updated when let's say they do this t-shirt size ranking on the issues to get their backlog sorted, that this is automatically displayed in a nice visual way, and they can start from there. Yeah? So I think that's a perfect fit, at least in this case. And I think and this can be interesting for other customers as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think just to set the record straight, I don't go about and ask absolutely every single solution partner that message us about, oh, I have this issue. Hey, do you want to be our partners? But I looked at the services that you guys offered, and I really thought that this is a good fit. And also, honestly, you've been extremely responsive with everything, and we're the same. So if you message me today, I'll reply to you today, or I'll do my best to do so. And that kind of shows a bit of agility in how we operate. We're also quite small as teams and so on, and I think it's easier than when you're big, hundreds of employees, to get around to all of the conversations that you might have. So that's one of the things that I appreciate with partnerships, is just that snappy interactions, because we didn't even met that long ago.
True.
I also really find it very interesting that we live now in a world where cloud solutions on the marketplace are better fit than server ones. I've heard you saying that you're looking for the t-shirt side as a solution, prioritization, backlog management tool, and you couldn't really actually find anything suitable for the client in server. But there's a solution in cloud, and I've heard that so often recently. And I think it's also because it's a bit of a different way of thinking of building a solution in server versus in cloud.
Mm-hmm.
We're more focused on business. We're building SaaS tools, and we kind of have that freedom of exploring and implementing a tool exactly how the customer needs it. Well, in server, although you have a bit more freedom in terms of the type of data and screens and things that you can access,
Mm-hmm.
There's still a bit of reluctancy of building full-blown deployable tools there. So, and also it's a dying art building server apps, I would say.
True, and this is what we also observe, that the future is in cloud. There's no doubt about it. Even though the customer base is still exploring, and you have still customers who are struggling a bit more to do this step. But I think more and more it becomes the common sense that you save hardware cost, maintenance effort on customer side, or even staff, and that you cannot. It's also hard to compete with the development speeds you have in these software as a service solutions to catch up, to have this in-house. So I think they're doing themselves a favor to take this solution and focus on their core business. This is difficult enough usually to get their product and service out in the right quality and time and cost. So this is what we observe and where we try to support.
To be honest, it's very refreshing hearing solution partners say that, because all I hear most of the time is like, biggest mistake ever, the fact that they're shutting down server and such. So it's refreshing. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, for us it's quite easy because we're new to the system, more or less, since we found it pretty much 3 years ago, almost, in December 2018. So as I said, we had the luxury to start fresh in cloud. So for us it's easy to say cloud first, I guess. So there's an advantage we had, I think, and no legacy, let's say, business on our side within the Atlassian ecosystem. But especially the last year, I think the development speed within the cloud solutions and is growing. Speed is increasing, and this morning we had an admin training. And we logged into the instance, showing, as usual, a certain feature in the admin menu. And you have this change because it got updated recently and you didn't even notice. So you have these on-the-fly updates, which are delivered instantly without even noticing. I think this is our time. Everybody is used to it on the smartphone. On the iPhone, on the Android, you get it in more or less instantly. And if the quality is ensured and it works, I mean, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a bit of a blessing and a curse, because I suppose
True.
you're working with large teams and so on, and if they spun something on you all of a sudden, training, people panicking, where's that button, and so on. So yeah, but fundamentally, I think the overall is positive with this kind of seamless releases. It's overall positive. What's next for Generativ? Is there any news or announcements or anything like that?
Well, I think in the next weeks and months, what we will definitely will be focusing on is cloud migrations. This is a topic which will probably ramp up. I mean, the server licensing is ending. It had been communicated since months already, and I think many customers will then look for solutions. How to do that. So this is something where we will focus on. And then recently we released a blueprint for requirements engineering, and this is something which we are, let's say, put a lot of effort in to get this working, get this really breaking down in a nice and logical way, and let's say condensed as a blueprint that customers can use it within Jira and connect it to other activities. And I think there are more solutions, but I don't wanna highlight them now explicitly. But blueprints, I mean, are definitely one offering we have, and which we further extend. And then let's see what the future brings. I mean, business apps like you offer it are a topic, and let's see if we also enter this field of app development. It's not clear yet, but let's see what the market does, and that is also in the back of our head, if that can be something where, let's say, depending a little bit of if we have gaps, let's say, in this ecosystem or not. It seems like, I mean, you are jumping in there, or have jumped in there. So I mean, that's great to see that solutions are there. And right now we are focusing on providing solutions, consulting and implementation, supporting the customers in the daily activities, resolving issues, of course. I think this is what we are right now focusing on. And then probably during the course of the next year, we will also grow the team, because the workload will go up, and so we will grow, I think. But we will do it naturally, that we still, let's say, ensure the quality in terms of services and expertise on the people we have within Generativ.
Makes a lot of sense. The natural progression is the right way, I would say. I often see people trying to hire too much too fast, and that can be a bit of a detriment of growth stagnation because of sizing and such. Anyways, that's my startup mindset coming into play. So there's a couple of things. Oh yeah, so with the blueprints we have discussed, we're also having a blueprints project that's coming out soon, and you and I will collaborate and work on that, which is super exciting. And any Swiss company out there looking for migrating from server to cloud, Jan's your man.
Yes, feel free to reach out. I mean, we're happy to have a first contact and give you some ideas, give you an overview on what can be done, what the implications are, what the regulatory boundaries are when you move to cloud, and maybe also what other options are out there. When we talk about, I mean, data center is still an option, that you have strong regulatory requirements which right now cannot be fulfilled with cloud. I mean, there's always the possibility to, for now, stick to the on-premise. But yes, I mean, whenever possible, from a regulatory side, we recommend going to the cloud, because I mean, the development speed and also the feature set is leading in that area, and data center will probably lag behind in that regard.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me today, Jan. Really awesome and exciting to find out and just dive a bit into your world at Generativ. I'm sure we're going to have some more of these discussions. Yeah, that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks a lot for the invite.
We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
See you soon. Bye bye.